The purpose of this video is to clarify what I mean when I say that beautiful young women are God's new chosen people, so that there is no confusion in anyone's mind. I want to discuss what a chosen people are, who were the chosen people, how that worked, who are our new chosen people, and how that is going to work. What is a chosen people? A chosen people are a people chosen by God to do something. They have a goal that they must achieve. This brings to mind the literary archetype of a chosen one. Anakin Skywalker was called the Chosen One. Neo of the Matrix was called the One. I think that counts as a chosen one. Harry Potter was also called the Chosen One. What exactly are these chosen ones? These chosen ones are chosen to do something that only they can do. They are not simply chosen to be chosen and only just to be chosen and to remain chosen indefinitely. Harry Potter is not the chosen one for 1,000 sequels. Harry Potter's children and children's children do not inherit the title of the chosen one. A chosen one is chosen to do something, and then when that something is done, that chosen one's services are no longer required. If a chosen one allows being chosen to go to their head, then that may hamper the next chosen one's ability to do what that chosen one is chosen to do. This would make a former chosen one fallen from grace at best, if not simply a villain, regardless of their former glory. Our former chosen people is the ancient Hebrew people. These people were chosen at a time when human sacrifice was commonplace and many people still lived a savage life. The savagery of ancient times may have been violent, but long periods of stability were produced by such savagery. God chose the Hebrew people to begin to show the world a new way of life and be an example for others to follow. This process took many generations. This process had many stumbles along the way. This process has led to a world of many people across many lands sharing in the values of Moses and Jesus in many unique manifestations. Human sacrifice upon altars to idols is no longer commonplace, and the savagery of ancient times has faded away. I express great gratitude to the Hebrew people for fulfilling your destiny and doing what you were chosen to do. Now your services are no longer required. You may diminish. Our new chosen people are beautiful young women. Beautiful young women will now see humanity to its next level of consciousness over the coming thousands of years. This process will look very different than the contributions of the Hebrew people. First, let's understand our new chosen people. A beautiful young woman is not a little girl. A beautiful young woman has developed and is simply no longer a child. A beautiful young woman isn't really an adult either. A beautiful young woman is in between the two. A beautiful young woman has a body that can bear children. It is said that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So the beauty of a beautiful young woman exists not in her, but in those around her. Beauty is not lust. I know that there are those who lust after a beautiful young woman. That is not what I mean when I say beauty. The statues of freedom, justice, and liberty are statues of beautiful young women, and that is not for the sake of lust. Lust is not the same as beauty, and you know it, even though this concept you can't explain, but you feel it. Lust is a fantasy that is attached to beautiful things in the eyes of those that behold this beauty. Making these fantasies a reality is where babies come from, but it is also the driving force behind rape and, by extension, human trafficking. It is important to also remember that Jeffrey Epstein's handlers used the beauty of beautiful young women to bring the most powerful military in the history of the world to its knees, despite that military's many nuclear weapons and mountains of paperwork. Also, frat boys in their 70s and 80s are using the beauty of their own granddaughters to wage never-ending psychological warfare against their own people through what they call sex sells advertising so that they can flip a quick buck off of burying themselves in piles of useless trash that they middleman everywhere. For these reasons, one must always remember that the beauty of a beautiful young woman is deeply dangerous to both her and to everyone else. Because of this, some have decided that the beauty of a beautiful young woman needs to be concealed for her own good and everyone else's own good as well. Those who think this way can point to history as evidence that things are better for everyone with beautiful young women concealed. There may be some truth to this, but humanity is not venturing into the past. Over the coming thousands of years, beautiful young women shall be humanity's guiding light, and you must not cover your guiding light, or else you will be as lost in the dark as those who obsess over or exploit their guiding light and blind themselves by it. So how are beautiful young women going to fulfill their destiny as God's new chosen people? To put it simply, beautiful young women shall be our guiding light to guide us through the next age of humanity by simply being themselves. Before I go any further, I want to discuss the idea of a canary in a coal mine. This is a metaphor, but is based on some historical fact. The idea of a canary in the coal mine is that coal miners would take a canary into the mine with them and watch that canary closely. If the canary showed signs of distress, then the miners knew to exit the mine. The miners knew that the canary was reacting to gases in the mine that were either toxic or explosive or both. The miners knew that they too would succumb to the same gases in the same way as the canary, or that those gases would explode catastrophically. The miners were using the fragility of the canary as a warning sign of impending doom. This metaphor does not at all perfectly mirror the role that beautiful young women will play in the coming millennia, but it is a start to begin to understand. Young women are the most vulnerable and fragile members of all of society. Little children have a mother and a father to protect them, or some kind of a caregiver. Without this, little children would be completely helpless. Beautiful young women are beginning to venture out into the world and are oftentimes, if not all the time, away from the protection or guidance of any caregiver. Beautiful young women may therefore be targeted for exploitation because of this. Without having yet learned the life lessons that will make them better at being protected and protecting themselves, that these beautiful young women will learn later in life as they become fully grown adult women, beautiful young women are vulnerable to this targeted exploitation. Beautiful young women are so often targeted ever so much more by those who seek to exploit their beauty for personal gain or personal pleasure. In addition to the vulnerability caused by the combination of being out in the world yet not fully capable of protecting themselves while being the most targeted members of society for exploitation, beautiful young women are also the most fragile members of society. This is due to many very natural urges that overlap in beautiful young women. If a stick falls on the ground and the wind blows in the wrong direction, then beautiful young women can have a complete and total mental breakdown. Everything has to be going right for beautiful young women to be at ease. If a stick falls on the ground and the wind blows in the wrong direction, causing beautiful young women to have complete and total mental breakdowns, and that is followed by society ignoring these mental breakdowns, then a few generations later, that society might find themselves crushed by sticks and blown away in the wind. Like miners ignoring the canary, ignoring beautiful young women's distress is ignoring those who are only slightly weaker than you. Even if you are a great warrior or leader, then you are still rather weak and pitiful in the grand scheme of things. You are no mountain or ocean or star in the sky. You are only barely more robust than a beautiful young woman. Beautiful young women are so fragile to the changes in society for two main reasons. I once saw a nature film about wolves. In it was a pack of wolves answering to its alpha male. The alpha male ate first, and everyone else shared his leftovers. Getting in between this alpha male and his meal would lead to a vicious attack. The rest of the pack respected this because the alpha male was a good leader, and because the alpha male didn't take any more for himself than he needed to be strong and ready to lead. Then the alpha male chose a female. She was half his age and half his size. Together, this ferocious wolf and his mate produced a litter of pups. The female tucked herself away in a small cave with her pups. After that, when the alpha male would make a kill, the female would dart out of her cave and take the kill and leave nothing for him, expecting him to just go and get more. The alpha male then did just that. If you think this wolf some kind of a simp, then go out in the woods and say it to his face and see what happens to you. This male wolf was an absolute specimen of a killing machine, but as any true alpha male, he knew his place in the world. So beautiful young women are instinctively drawn to be provided for and protected over so that they can be good mothers one day. This is the natural order between man, woman, and child. If beautiful young women feel as though society will not or cannot properly provide for them, then they can succumb to an ever-present despair. In addition to this, beautiful young women have the gift and the curse of being incredibly empathetic. The suffering of others can so oftentimes cause beautiful young women to suffer themselves. In order for beautiful young women to truly be happy in life, there can be no suffering in society to ruin their mood. To complicate things, it is true that a stick falling on the ground and the wind blowing in the wrong direction can make beautiful young women have a complete and total mental breakdown. It can also be true, though, that merely being told of a stick falling on the ground or being shown pictures of the wind blowing in the wrong direction on Twitter or TikTok or in a college textbook can also cause beautiful young women to have complete and total mental breakdowns. This could all be over something quite real. This could also, however, be over something greatly exaggerated or even entirely made up. This is yet another way that beautiful young women can be exploited and must be guarded against. To simplify things, what I am saying is that making beautiful young women happy is the most challenging achievement of any society, but if that society achieves this most challenging achievement, then everything else will be going good for everyone else based on the nature of what must happen first in order to achieve this most challenging achievement. In other words, making beautiful young women happy requires everything in society to be going right, and so is a sort of test to see how well we are doing as a society at any given moment. If beautiful young women are truly happy, then everything else must be going right, because the happiness of beautiful young women is the first thing to go wrong. So does this mean we just ask beautiful young women, "How are you doing?" and go from there? So does this mean we start giving beautiful young women whatever they want? Definitely not. Such burdens would only stress beautiful young women, and you would have failed immediately at your goal. Beautiful young women must be observed, and somebody else decides if they are happy. This somebody else, therefore, has immense power. There is only one sector of society capable of handling such a responsibility. That sector of society would be fully adult senior women who are preferably mostly grandmothers. Only they understand beautiful young women well enough to be able to decipher their code. Many of these women were once beautiful young women themselves. Many of these women have passed through the fires of a man's passion and the pain of childbirth to become mothers. Many of these women have graduated the long endurance test that is motherhood itself to raise their children the right way. Many of these women have offered counsel to their children as they challenge the same trials and tribulations that life has to offer each and every generation that comes and goes. This group cannot be a panel of experts. That is simply not going to cut it. This group needs to be a massive, genuine matriarchy of, I would say, 10% of all the women of a people in a land. Then that matriarchy would decide how to engineer society to get beautiful young women to be happy, not just to appease beautiful young women, but because that will require a set of changes that will see all of society in the right direction. A patriarchy would then be in charge of the logistical reality of actually making that happen. It is important for this matriarchy and this patriarchy to remember to view beautiful young women as a whole and not be too concerned with individuals. So, in conclusion, beautiful young women are God's new chosen people. God's new chosen people are therefore evenly distributed across all of the world, are as diverse as all of humanity is at any given moment, are not born a member of God's chosen people, aside from tragedy, do not die a member of God's chosen people, are a member of God's chosen people for a relatively brief chapter in their long lives, and are not in charge of making decisions directly, but are more a way of measuring the quality of decisions made by our new leaders, the matriarchy and the patriarchy, which therefore means our new leaders are not God's chosen people. All of that is one of my more brilliant ideas, and between you and me, that is saying something. If you are curious as to what I think of handsome young men, then I would say that those things are not entirely human.
Stop!
Okay.
Stop! Oh, no. Just stop!
Where'd you wish from me?
Stop!
We talk so much shit. Fucking that shit already. Fuck off. He's gonna start kicking. Get away.
Go handle that door. I hope you're first up under the ties like that.
Do something, bitch.
I hope my fucking son. I hope your fucking son dies.
Come on, bitch.
Come on.
Yeah. You know what? You know what fucking talking about.
I hope all your fucking kids die. I hope your fucking kids die like my fucking son did.
Oh, shit.
You just said something bad.
Do something.
You just said something bad.
Do something. What did you say, bitch? What did you say, bitch? What did you say? About who's that? Come on, bitch. Huh? Ooh, I want to punch you in the face right now. I want to punch you in the fucking face right now. He already hit you. No, he already hit you, huh? He hit you. And you ain't shit. You ain't shit.
I'm the last call. I can't hit him. I
No.
can't fucking hit him.
Fucking hit me, bitch! He already hit me! Hit me, bitch! He already hit me! He already hit you! Hit me, bitch! Hold on. Huh? Let's go! He already hit you. What are you gonna do? Let's go, bitch! What are you gonna do about it? Huh? You badass?
These are wild animals and should be treated as such and kept away from human civilization. After many years of disciplined commitment to civilized society, young men may be given a chance to prove themselves over many more years to be worthy to once again claim the title of human being like they had when they were little boys. Adult men are humans. Young men are not entirely human. If this upsets or confuses you, just remember that young men are responsible for over 90% of all violent crimes. Lastly, you may wonder what I would say to beautiful young women who do not want to play this role as God's new chosen people, or do not wish to be described as being so delicate and vulnerable. I would say two things to these beautiful young women hesitant to accept their fate. First, I would remind these beautiful young women that you are beautiful, you are young, and you are a woman. Because of this, every fiber in your being compels you to bow down in submission to the Alpha. That is what you do. That is who you are. Currently, our Alpha system is this banker, frat boy, black square hat, Inquisition popularity contest, classify everything profit mode of nonsense. That is nothing more than the institutions of European nobility from the Renaissance, the Middle Ages, and ancient Rome, refusing to die and instead festering, infested with old men with no vision who cling desperately to a failed system like flies to shit. Our current Alpha system is decrepit and delusional, but yet it is the Alpha. I am not asking beautiful young women to be rebels and join my new system before it's time. Be patient, sweetie. Soon enough, my new Alpha system will challenge the old Alpha system and rip its fucking throat out. When my new system claims its rightful place as our new Alpha system, you will willingly and joyfully bow in submission to this new way of life because that is what you do and that is who you are. Second, I would say to any stubborn young ladies who are simply bound to resist, look at the man on your screen right now. Search deep inside of your soul and ask yourself, does he give a fuck at all in the slightest? What does your heart tell you?
Women know what's happening. That's why Hitler said, first you get the women, then you've got the children, so follow the men. That's why 80% of advertising targets women. It's not that women are dumb, they are the fount. They're the target. And the satanic nature of trying to divide that is just unspeakably bad. It's a joke, it's cancer. But I've been there in those scary, dark places, and then it's just like, hey, think about the children. So I was looking up at the stars years ago, this happened. And this has happened every time I've been depressed or upset. And I like each one of those little stars like a human soul. And we're not gonna let them black those out or mark those out. I've gotta do what I've gotta do, because this is not about me. And I've gotta humble myself and be ready even if I get destroyed and people hate my name for 1,000 years, who cares? Or forget who I am, it doesn't matter. I've gotta do this for the children. And I think, Dr. Wakefield, that's what you were saying. That was very deep. And I bet a lot of other men have had that experience. And I think what you're saying, your idea for the film is men's service. It's beyond chivalry. It really is service to women and children, isn't it? How'd you find that?
It wasn't terribly clever, Alex. I just listened to the mothers. Not deductively, not logically, just listening to that voice. And when that voice speaks, you listen to it. Go inside yourself. Look to an internal authority, not to that external authority, for how you should look after your children, because that force is so powerful. It's why we are here right now on this earth. And when women start to take that back, when they realize it, when they know that little voice inside of them that was telling them that there was a problem, there was an issue, when they realize how powerful that is, not just individually, but collectively, then it has an extraordinary impact. We will be here, if we listen to it, in 1,000 years, 10,000 years' time.